All right, we are back with the last episode of talking about the darkness that comes before. Uh, Definitely not the last episode in general. Stay tuned for the Warrior Prophet, which I am very excited to embark on because this book rocked.
Fantastic, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, I think after we'll still do our thing. We got the most chapters to go through today. We got five of them, and we'll do our thing, recap them, talk about what stood out. Did prep just some general overall thoughts. I guess specifically, 'cause I was obviously very positive on the book, um, and like I this is really something unlike I've ever read. I think my expectations were definitely met. Some of them exceeded, and I'm really hyped to move on. I think in particular, I did want to just point out a few things that I've decided like did kind of bother me. Um, but so you know, not a perfect book. There really are few perfect books, but a very very good book one that has me really excited to move on. So yeah, I guess we can dive into it if you're if you're good to go.
Yeah, I'm good to go. I was just letting you kind of air out what you think, at least initial impressions. So,
Yeah,
um,
yeah. We'll talk about it. I will say I did really enjoy this part like a lot, specifically the first half of the part.
mhm.
Um, n- I we did get some big revelations. I'll get more in detail about this later. There were like a few things I was like kind of expecting a bit more on. Um, but that's fine. I mean, at the end of the day, I think my one sentence like takeaway about the negatives is like this is definitely a book one, which is fine. I feel like this is the kind of book you're gonna pick up if you're kind of all in on doing the at least the project of the trilogy, if not the whole series. Um, so that's fine. And I still had a blast with some of these earlier chapters here, like chapter 15. Um, we really start to get a convergence, as I guess we kind of expected. These things were gonna start threading into place. So first of all, these epigraphs, I really bet you want to reread or having fun with them. Um, because yeah, this one in specifically came from Akka again,
Mhm.
and he refers to the Holy War initially as a failure. Then he takes a step back and says, "Did I say failure? Perhaps transformation
Yeah,
would be a better word."
exactly.
And what's interesting too is maybe this was in the blurb. Yeah, I don't like one of the blurbs. This isn't wasn't specifically written. Um, but I read like somewhere from like some semi-official source that like history is written by the winners or something
Yeah.
along those
Mhm.
lines. And Akka is writing this history, right? So
Mhm.
if he's calling it a failure or a transformation, I mean, I think we know that it's going to have some unexpected outcomes,
Yep.
particularly based
Okay.
on some more revelations on who's behind what. But and that goes from Mathanet to the consult to what Kellis and his dad are actually up to, etc. But yeah, had me intrigued.
Okay. So
Uh,
let me interrupt you here real quick. So what do you
Go wild.
think it's gonna be transformed into? From
Uh,
to what should I say?
so obviously throughout the chapter we have the all the signs pointing in Akka's direction of this being the second apocalypse, right? The end of the
Mhm.
world. So I think we'll definitely get into more detail about the relationship between those three things I mentioned. Kellis, or like the Anasarim, the consult, Mathanet, and then what I'm going to refer to again as the sorcerer priests because we've learned I can't say their name, um, which we kind of get some allusions in this chapter that Mungus might have become one of them, something like that, and obviously they are with the Phantom. So yeah, I think we'll talk about this. I don't know if I have a straight answer for you right now, uh,
Okay.
but yeah. So yeah, I guess diving into the events of the chapter. So Akka finally gets his meeting with Proyas, and he fumbles it pretty much. Proyas is not about Akka pushing to plant the seeds of suspicion about Mathanet, and obviously he's going to him for more information there. Proyas
Hmm.
basically tells him to piss off,
Yeah.
um, and
Say it
never wants to
nicely.
see him again. Right? Yeah, we get a scene with Esmond Net, and she's in some dimensions living the life right now, at least a more luxurious life than she's ever lived.
Yep.
Um, and yeah, she kind of meets a customer on the street. Well, actually, she meets someone that catches her eye. They got to hook up in an alley, and she just feels compelled to charge him
Yeah,
because,
I really didn't understand that when I read it. Even now, I still don't understand why she had the need to charge, but I guess
well,
she wanted something
I
out of
think
him.
it's just instilled in her, um, like in her mentality where uh, she feels like she's been brought up to, like, that's the part of her that comes at a price. So I think that was what was happening a bit subconsciously there. And then she ends up throwing away the money at the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, so uh, she heads back to Cercelis, and
Oh, but
uh,
sorry to cut you off. But did you notice something about what happened
um, did I
during that? During that,
maybe um, what was that?
the seed.
Oh, was it a consult guy?
I'm not sure if it was, but it said the seed was black.
Okay, yeah, then that, I mean, there you go. So, um, and yeah, well, and he finished inside, didn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, because yeah, I know that was described in great detail as well.
Yep.
That is troubling. Um, that is troubling.
Hmm.
So maybe we'll be getting a new character in a future book, of an
Uh,
infant that
yeah. Okay.
I guess we'll see. But that has dangerous implications. Regardless, she makes it back to Sir Salazar. He is, he can tell what she was up to. He is not happy about it. But the minute she kind of fakes that it was Akka that she hooked up with, he falls to his knees and is like, "I get it, you love him,"
Hmm.
and definitely indicates to the reader, more so than even what we've gotten before, but potentially even implies to Esmonet that Cercellus is clearly using her as a means by which to get to Akka.
Hmm.
He's encouraging this by under the guise of "I understand you love him," etc. But
Hmm.
uh, so that was that. Now, quite quickly, the "I never want to see you again" did not hold up for
Yeah.
Proyas
Exactly.
and
Hmm.
Akka.
Lasted all but like
Basically,
2 minutes.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get the sense that more time was passing, but I mean, it
Yeah.
was a few pages in between.
Exactly.
Um, now here's the thing: he still doesn't really want to hear, you know, what Akka has to say and poison his mind. Um, at least in the sense that he is basically looking for him as, like, what he functionally is as a mandate schooling, as you know, providing consultation based on some things he's been thinking about, and some new fellows that they've intercepted. Right. So yeah, first they discuss the movements of the emperor, Mathanet, and I won't go through all that in detail. It's essentially things that we're already aware of. And um, yeah, then we get the convergence that I had, especially last chapter, or last part rather.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
man, the convergence of Kellis and Akka, dude, I felt like a kid in a candy store, and we'll get more into
Hmm.
that next chapter. But and Asarimbor has returned at the end of the world. because someone sent him dreams. Oh, and I also forgot to mention we did get another dream sequence from Akka as well.
Yeah,
Just the classic um, dying of the last Anasarimbor,
yeah.
the
Calmon
repeat.
the second.
Yes, right, right, right. Um, so yeah, I mean, I've got a couple things marked down in this chapter. Was there anything in specifically like that you specifically wanted to talk about in more detail?
No, but I did want to bring up another point. I think we asked last episode. You asked of the Knights of Olympus and the those were Zynemus's colleagues. So like,
Yeah.
um,
Okay.
yeah, Crejades, Eresus. Yeah, he's one of the. I think he's one of the three people that he met. We met at the bonfire via Aka's POV.
Yeah. Right.
The
Okay.
first time when he first brought him to the camp, or when Akka first got to the camp and stuff. So, yeah,
We saw. I mean, and as they're coming in, recess. Is that how you say his name? Uh, you see him chiding Kellis, and like you read that, and you just think, all right, this guy's got people under under his influence already.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think it's Akka who describes Kellis as looking hungry, not in the way of beggars, but in the way of wolves.
mm.
I like that a lot. And I mean, hold on, there is a lot to go through in this chapter, but you can tell what I'm zoning in on as I think what I've indicated as pretty much my favorite aspect of the book is
Yeah, the
Callus.
convergence. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just Callus in general, but
Mm.
there was some other. Uh, I mean, obviously, Nayor shows up, and I thought it was nice that Kamion was kind of rattled by his appearance, really, which I think is quite relevant as a running theme throughout the rest of the part is what is a Skilvendi doing here,
Yeah.
and just enforcing how um, out of place he is.
Mm.
And yeah, I actually there was a line they said a waking vision of the world's ancient end, a Skelvendi. Like I just thought that was so ironic that he was the one that felt so out of place when again Kellis is I think the one appearing with serious implications here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean I think this is a great bridge to dive into chapter 16, where Kellis sits down with Akka at the fire and basically seduces him like instantly.
Yes.
um
It was like it was within a matter of moments, just like a few words here and there, subtle intonations here and there, and his soul is his.
yeah,
Control
so
is.
I mean we've seen these tactics before. He plays this super humble guy card.
Mm-hmm.
He does this thing like making himself relatable to Akka with respect to like where they're both having prophetic dreams,
Mm-hmm.
and like I get you, bro.
Yeah,
um
literally.
yeah. Yeah, I mean Kellis gets his spot on the map, potentially tying in with the consults. Very well, might be the second end of the world coming up.
Mm.
Um, just as sort of a relational graph where Akka doesn't really, he's not necessarily pinning down what these relationships are, but um, yeah, I think his placement seems to make a lot of sense. But what those lines and arrows indicate might not be what Akka has in mind just
Yeah,
yet.
exactly.
Um, so yeah, Nayor's actually camping out through all this, moping and whatnot, and feeling really out of place. Yeah, he has to spend time with all these High Lord. Uh, uh, what's the name of the culture called again? Starts with high.
Enrithi.
Yeah, the Enrithi. That's right. Yeah, so boohoo, Nayor.
Yeah.
And he afterward chats with Kellis, um, and basically, it's suggested here that Mungus might be what is it, Sisharam,
Yeah,
and
Kisharam, yeah.
yeah, Kisharam, right? Um, and that's potentially where he ties into all this.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get some Zarias, and I will be honest, man. I feel like I should reread part two of this book.
Hmm.
And I think we'll speak more at length about that in relation to the next chapter. But uh, particularly because Skaos,
Hmm.
um, and we see what unfolds with him, and who he actually is and such.
Hmm.
And I, I just now understanding his, not necessarily his motivations, but what party of interest he represents. I really want to, and that must have been fun for you on a reread, seeing what he was up to.
Yeah.
And I'm still, and I will just throw out, I'll discuss this a bit more later. Um, but like this big reveal that came in the subsequent chapter. Sorry for the tangent, but that he is of the consult. Um, I just wish I had a bit more of a sense of their motivations specifically, which is why I think teasing this out, could maybe bring some of that to light.
Yeah.
'Cause, having a good hold on what interests he was representing and things like
Yeah,
that.
it took me a minute. I'm trying to figure out when when they explain it. It just wasn't in this book because I was doing like a history of Urwa, which is the world that they're on, and it gave us like the kind of the reasons why like basic reason why the console do what they do, and I'm like, okay, I don't remember when that was told through X or Y character. I just remember hearing that before, so maybe it has to be somewhere later on. I'm sure it is within the next two this trilogy. There's no way
Okay,
it was in the
yeah.
second apocalypse.
I mean, answer is, sign me up for the answers. It is totally fun living in the dark. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot
Yeah.
to, and I also think this isn't really the kind of book like you're reading, like looking for some big climactic event. But
Mm-hmm.
if you want to, point to what was the big climactic event in this, um, I mean, you could call it the convergence of these characters,
Mm-hmm.
but you could also call it, the revelation about Scales. But the thing is, we kind of already know the consults everywhere, right? So,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
It's
But
them
anyway,
knowing,
right.
or should I
Um,
say, it's Akka knowing, not them, because well, we'll get to that. So we'll
yeah,
get
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Right,
Mhm.
right, right, right. Exactly. Yeah, that's some last chapter stuff there. But yeah, so Zarias, so Scales gives his report. This is before, to be clear, before we actually, know what's wrong with him. So he reports Nayor as being proposed as potential replacement, for Confis by Proyas, as the lead general of this holy war. Um, and I think that's sort of the big takeaway from that scene. Back to Akka, and yeah, this man is just swooning.
Mhm.
He actually he decides against reporting Gellis back to his school,
Mhm.
because they've displayed bad intentions, putting him up to no good with Inru, and we wouldn't want the same thing happening to him.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Oh my god.
yes, so that's that, um, and the leader of the Scarlet Spires actually comes to treat with Kellis, and like,
Not Kellis.
which, oh, sorry, yes, Akka, my bad.
Yeah. Mhm.
um, Right, and it's a bit of a dangerous confrontation. They raise their banners, kind of make themselves susceptible, and we know people don't like sorcerers. So yeah, so he shows up, and he basically is there to figure out why Akka murdered the informant from part one.
Gathruni. Yeah,
Yeah,
Gathruni. Yeah.
yeah. So um, Akka obviously just like guffaws at this because, if we remember back to part one, uh, this guy basically gave Akka the report that Scarlet Spires have been warring with the Sisharum, and after that, um, Akka put out a little note to that child to do him a favor and make sure, get a note to this guy. And but we saw that guy get brutally murdered. Presume I'm gonna presume now that was by the consult, um,
Yeah.
and or but by someone, especially because the Scarlet Spires guy is just so taken aback by how mutilated this guy was.
Yeah.
Uh,
Stolen his face.
right. Okay. So there you go. You were talking about faceless men an episode or two ago. We'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I should have said that. I should have saved that for this episode. I kind of regretted saying that this last
Hey, don't
episode.
sweat it. Don't, I mean,
Mhm.
that didn't. I wouldn't say that ruined anything for me by any means, but I'm just thinking about him a little more. I'll put it that way.
Mhm.
Yeah. Scarlet Spires guy. We actually got in his head for a little bit. And long story short, this probably just had an unintended consequence of not boding well between the relationship between the Scarlet Spires and the Mandate, because now Akka looks untrustworthy. So even though Akka was totally open with him and spoke about this guy as their top informant, why would we get rid of him, or
Mhm.
all that? So um, I think the chapter leaves off there. I don't know if there was anything you wanted to specifically highlight when we were in the Scarlet Spires guy
Yeah.
head. I mean, as you can tell, I can't even remember his name, so
It starts
that
with an
probably.
E. You know.
Yes, it does start with an E. That's right.
I could find it real quick, but it was I did want to bring up the Nayor part. Um. And that had to be with the reason why that he thinks he's qualified, or uh, um, why Proyas thinks he's qualified is because he was in the battle at not Ryan. It was the Cayutis. I think it's by battle at Cayutis, where he fought one of the
The
Phanom.
the Phantom, right? Yeah, yeah. So
The,
he knows their ways of war. Yeah,
yeah, and
right.
he's killed one of the Kishar, well, one of the heads of the of that country's sons, like the one of the king's sons. So, it he has actual leverage on and actual prowess. Credibility shows is the word I was trying to think of.
Yeah, I gotcha. Which,
Facing
I mean,
the
he's definitely going to need, especially given the reputation of
so
this
that puts
company.
him on even ground. Actually, I would say even better ground than Akiri Conference, because he's actually faced the enemy. Conference hasn't.
Yeah,
And
yeah. I mean, and this is obviously the debate at the center of the next chapter, so we'll get into it a bit more. But I do want to shout out. I kind of glazed over Surway making an appearance as well. Just you know, there hanging out while Kellis and Akka are talking, and yeah, when Akka asks whether Kellis loves her, he says, "Yes, I need her," which seems to me to be a classic Kellis mixing
deflection.
of just
Yep.
a
Hmm.
lie of omission, and some straight blanket truth. And, his the Kellis special right there.
Yeah, the Kellis
So
special, indeed.
uh, yeah, so I think later on in the part, it is made abundantly more clear that he isn't taking his foot off the gas with regards to seducing and manipulating Sirway. We'll see what he intends to use her for exactly. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I just found the name. His name was Eliazarus.
Okay, gotcha.
Also,
Eliazaris. That kind of rolls off the tongue.
mhm.
So, all right, chapter 17.
Probably my favorite
Um,
chapter of this section.
oh, this was great. This was great. Well, I mean, we're in Callus's head for most of it, right?
Yeah.
So he's introduced by Proyas to the nobility, and he pretty much gets them all down to a pin off
Hmm.
the bat, including a guy who is yelling at his kids in a different language, and he's still able
Yeah,
to. So,
Coyotes.
right. Yeah, I will not lie. I don't think I
You'll remember
profiled
the
them.
names. Yeah.
I was gonna say I don't profile. I did not profile them as well as Kellis did.
Hmm.
That's for sure. So, um, but basically, Kellis he got the reads he needed to make, right?
Mm-hmm.
Except scales,
Mm-hmm.
of course, and uh, he's thinking to himself throughout the meeting, is this is this your creation, Father? Is
Mm-hmm.
So, and I mean, that would tie the consult directly to the Sisharum, to Mungus. Um, a lot of implications there. Now, in flashbacks as well, we get a glimpse into his Dunyan training. And this
Mm-hmm.
was great.
Yeah, that's my
Um,
favorite part.
yeah. So, yeah, we see Kellis training to master his inner passion specifically by remaining focused on a single thought. The Logos is without beginning or end.
And yep.
Um, yeah, so basically he starts repeating this verbally, um, and then starts repeating it within his head. His trainer obviously is trained in these Dunyan arts, so he can tell what's going on in Kellis's mind. So there isn't there's no stopping, right? There's no way out of this, even though it's mental exercise. And yeah, I'm gonna hope for Kellis's sake he didn't have ADHD, because I can imagine this being very, very difficult, uh, regardless of circumstance. But
Yeah, guy, like he's able to. He has like a hyper. He can when he's analyzing something. He's like he can do. He does it in such a minute detail, but he's only focusing on that one person or
Mhm.
that one obstacle to get like as much information, being able to interpret every action, every minute detail of that person, and come up with a calculated thought process of how to handle that person in whatever way to again find the shortest path to controlling their soul or controlling them in a way to get to their destination. And it does it within, he said, five heartbeats. He was able to look at scales and try to analyze them, and then he was back in the moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, the mind reading stuff, definitely yes. What I sorry, what I should have clarified. What I specifically meant was like this mental exercise, because basically the whole idea of it is, um, you have your just random thoughts coming from the darkness that comes before your
Mm-hmm.
passions. I think they called it the Legion. Uh,
Legion, yes, yes.
yeah, right. And basically, he's got to shut all those out, um, and just stay focused on this one thought. Um, for basically, as the deal is, every time the sun comes up, he gets to take a word off the sentence, down to the point where it's nothing, and at that point, um, there are no thoughts. He's mastered, his internal sequences, or cognition, or whatever. And that sort of is building throughout the chapter to illustrate his prowess in what you were speaking about.
Yeah.
So um,
And
yeah.
this
So in
is
term,
sorry to cut you off.
no, 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 you're good. You're good. Let's hear
This
it.
kind of thought process remind me of like real life terms we it's like from Buddhism. At least I just did a quick Google search and it's called Hishirio. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's non-thinking. It's like, well, at
Mhm.
least according to when its website, it says like a profound state of awareness where thoughts arise and pass without being clung to or engaged. Um, and it's just like you said, like a state of mind of just pure blankness.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally see external influences on something like this. I'm not that familiar with meditation. My mom and my brother are pretty into it. So
Mm,
I don't have much experience with that myself, but I do know, um, yeah, there are various sort of practices that have been going on within certain cultures for a long time, just regarding to mastering and um, you know uh, sort of sedating your mental state for whatever. Um, and yeah, these Dunyan arts are what fascinate me the most. So I'm always keen to get some insight. So,
Okay. You hope
um,
your brother and your mother are not Dunyin, are they?
I would hope not. If not, then I'll have to trace back what led me to this point doing this podcast. Wonder what they're up to. Um, now, before I start spiraling back to Kellis,
Yeah,
so
sorry.
in the present, um, yeah, it's basically this debate of who should we have, because Mathanet has a representative there, and this is something I was curious about actually. So we get the sense from Kellis that um, whoever he has representing him there, Mathanet, name starts with G, I believe.
Sorry. Netsora? Sorry,
Maybe.
sorry. Oh, sorry, Mathanet. Sorry, continue.
Yeah. So Mathanet's got this guy representing him there. And he's basically going to, at the end of the discussion, make the decree. And I think Kellis was alluding to the fact that this guy was, pretty nervous about the decision, which I thought was interesting because, if we're tying Mathanet to the consult, which I'm not saying we collectively are, like that's just, throughout the past few episodes I've mentioned that as sort of my speculation.
Okay.
um you would expect Mathanet is a little more omniscient, kind of has, an agenda as to what he's orchestrating. um and this guy would have kind of clear instructions on how to react here. If there's some sort of plot to get Kellis in charge here. Then yeah, so I don't. Basically, I my main takeaway there was I don't necessarily think Mathanet is as much of an all-knowing architect as I might have thought previously.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Just a bit of a shift on my thought processes there. Yeah, Confis, of course, tries to argue that the Scovendi are vicious barbarians without a strategic thought in their head. Brings in the broken Zuneret to exemplify their weakness. Nayor doesn't care about this. He's unbothered,
Yeah.
and it's basically like, well, first of all, he's really not intimidated by these people at all.
Mm-hmm.
um the tables are turned where Confis is basically called out, and the Ikuri are pointed out to be, potentially distrusted. They've got their own sort of motivations
Yeah, agendas.
and agendas, right? Yeah, Naira basically says, like, I'm just in it for the love of the game.
Basically.
I'm not I'm not playing you on strings like these people. And yeah, and then Kellis comes in, um, and does his thing, works his magic, and basically sets the tone that Zarias and Confis are the only ones that offer a unique disadvantage, because yeah, you might hate the Skelvendi, but it's clear they don't have an agenda. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well, I mean, obviously, you've got the Kellis agenda, but
Yeah.
they don't
Mm-hmm.
need to know that. And yeah, so it's, oh, sorry, I do have his name written down. It's Gotion.
Yeah,
He's the
Godian. I was about to say that, but I didn't
Godian.
want to. I didn't want to interrupt. So you're
Oh,
continuing.
don't sweat it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, feel free to jump in as I'm stumbling through these. Um, so yeah, he decrees. Yeah, the emperor is to provision the holy war.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, I something I did want to point out, just a few things I wrote down. So, um, I found it interesting that typically in kind of more like traditional, not as cynical fantasy, darkness is sort of used like metaphorically or with a sort of connotation of being evil, and
Mm-hmm.
like to set tone and things like that. And obviously, I think the idea of darkness plays to the atmosphere in a similar way in the series, but
Hmm.
it's also sort of a lot more functional, right? Where the reference of the darkness of the soul is, more so, um, like just based on, how your cognitive processes and things like that are preceded by, passions and the legion, etc.
Hmm. Yeah, Legion.
Um, so yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that's a
Um,
good thought. I didn't even think of that. See, this is why
hey, there you go.
yeah,
We're the dream team over here.
you're the
Um,
philosopher here. Hmm.
well, I mean, certainly amateur, but I try to offer what I can. Um, yeah. Oh, I like this line too. Stories, if fitting, Kellis had learned commanded respect. Because that's how Nayor really takes the stage here, is
Hmm.
by speaking about his experiences and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and Kels is again just really running this whole like humble guy card,
Yeah.
and um, yeah, that's yeah. I forget what I didn't write down what this was in reference to. But another line I liked was he could see the inferences move of their own volition through the man's soul. I think that was actually in reference to Zarias. Could be wrong.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was actually. Now that you mentioned that, the
yeah,
one thing I did want to mention was how what Kells did to kind of break down Zarias' art in conference's argument. He used saying, "Well, we don't know what the motives of both us, our party, which is our representative, which is uh, um, Nayor, because we because Nayor is an outsider. I mean, some of the people would think that his or at least conference is trying to emphasize. Well, this guy we just destroyed. He was at the most recent battle between us and their people, and we slaughtered them. Maybe he wants a set of revenge against us. So that and then the other side is like, well, we can't trust you either because obviously you guys funded the vulgar holy war. So what are you guys trying to do? You trying to force people to sign your indenture to prove that you need it. So we can't trust you either. So it's like tries to say, okay, well, both of us are not trustworthy, but at least for us that we know that like we have more power than at least Nayor, and we can really settle things down while we're not as reliant as if we were with the House of Ikiri. At least that's how I interpreted it.
yeah, yeah. I think I'm totally with you there. And then actually, like right at the end, as the decision's kind of made, um, Sarias, I think Kellis specifically notes, or like his internal monologue does, that Sarias basically goes after the hinge of his argument, but it's too late. So,
Yeah, Conference was a
uh,
little too late. You should have
right.
you should have answered immediately to counter and countered immediately when Kellis started bringing up that point.
Yeah, before the passions in these people started building, and
Yeah.
yeah. So, Kellis gets done. Um, And following that, um, was there anything else I wanted to mention about this chapter? I think,
No, not really. Oh, I guess the something really big that happened that you didn't. I guess you didn't mention, and that
which would be
which would be Kellis looking when he was when he was trying to interpret. Was it I keep forgetting the dude's name. Skaos.
chaos. Yeah,
Yeah, Zarias noticed that look, and he's like, at the end, he was like, yeah, sees him. He's definitely a spy. We're gonna get as much information out of him as possible. And
right,
that was
right.
like one of the big things that kind of led on to things that happened later.
Okay, yeah, in the subsequent chapter, right.
Mm,
I will say one little critique I have of this chapter. I'm really like not at all thrown out of the story ever in this book. I
mm,
find it like incredibly immersive. The one thing I was kind of questioning was. Um, Nayor is very eloquent in his storytelling,
mm.
but this isn't his native language, is it?
No, I think
Yeah,
he
that,
learned.
yeah.
I think he learned it from Moangus when he was when he was with the tribe.
Okay,
Actually,
well,
no,
that
that wouldn't make sense.
if you learned it from Mungus, then that is literally the perfect
Actually,
answer
no,
to
that
that
doesn't
issue.
that
So
doesn't make sense. Never mind, because like he found him up north of the Shrek, so that wouldn't have made sense. He would have. I don't know how he would have learned the language.
yeah, I mean, he was cooking, and I was kind of like, wait, this is I'll do a double take on who's talking right now.
Hmm.
But yeah, um, so yeah, that's how the parts opened up and set the stage for us closing out. So yeah, you want to go through chapter 18?
Okay, chapter 18. So we start off with um, we talk just pretty much where we left off with, but this was like from Zarias's POV. Um, so Zarias is, he's like, "What the heck was that?" Him and Conference were like with each other, like, "How did we lose this?" And then of course Zarias being paranoid, the dude said, "Where is Scales? Lock him up. We're gonna interrogate him." And one of the guardsmen came to him and said, "Yeah, that feeble old man you knew, yeah, he took down like 3 people and he injured like 12 others. So something's not right." And he's like, "Well, there's got to be some magic going on." I'm like, the Imperial sake says there's nothing going on." And so Zarias was like,
Yeah.
get
Well, the
somebody that,
Sisharum,
yeah,
just to sorry to interject, they can't be seen, right?
yeah, their magic can't be seen. So,
Yeah, yeah, right.
so, which I still don't understand how that's possible. But regardless, we might get some interpretation of how that's possible. But I honestly don't remember how that's possible. What was the difference between their magic? But um, yeah, so Cynemus is like, well, the Imperial Sake always has their own agenda, so maybe he's lying about the situation, him being paranoid. So it's like, let's get somebody that's a third party. Let's get a second opinion, like a doctor, from a doctor. In this case, it'd be the mercenary wizards, the men something Mengati, or I can't remember their names. Um, Something with an M. And he said, well, they're saying that's not real either. And he's like, all right, let's go get this mandate schoolman. I said mandati, that's the mandate, sorry.
Yeah.
I can't remember the
Well,
school name.
I think they say Mendati, like that is used as a term, I think, by Zerais. I think
Hmm.
like meaning Mendati, like of the mandate, like
Yeah, exactly.
is what I gathered.
Yeah. So I just couldn't remember what the name of that mercenary kind of school is. But the so Zerai said, okay, conference, you're gonna go and grab the Mandata Schoolman. He's with Proyas. And then we cut to Akka walking to the pretty much the palace with conference, and he's like, "Okay, why am I being summoned?" And conference said, pretty much said, "Stop talking." Um, and they eventually get there. They had some conversation about like uh, again, I say Akka mostly asks again. It's like, why am I here? And it's like he could see that the House of Ikiri is kind of nervous about the situation. And then Conference mentions, it's like, all right, well, I guess there's not really much harm in me telling you what's going on. We found a spy in our midst, and we're trying to identify his magic. He's some type of sorcerer, and and yeah, so eventually they walk in. Zarias is already and his people are already been working on them, uh, on um, um, on the. I keep forgetting the dude's name. Holy hell, Skaos, and they're like, okay, the Mandati's here. Let's go see what's going on. So Zarais brings Kellis, or Zarais brings Akka to Skaos, and Akka is like instantly flinches back, and Skaos is like tenses up, and he's like, okay, yeah, there's something connection between these two. Yeah, something must be going on. He's like, oh, what is it? Is it magic? And he's like, Akka's like, that's not magic. There's no sign of magic. How do you know this man? What is he? and then Scales breaks his chains, tries to fight back, and then the other schoolmen that were there pretty much just kills Scales and protects the king. Although the guardsmen did die, and Conference did get slapped up in the face by some chains, and Akko kind of wanted to know who or what it was, and eventually it was speaking a different language, and it calls him Chigra, which you'll hear a lot more later on. That name at least.
I was
Um,
wondering if I should be familiar with that.
no,
But
that's the first time they mentioned Chigra. Um,
okay.
but you'll hear that a lot more later. Um, so yeah, then his face opened up, and then Akko's like, "Yeah, I'm getting the hell up out of here." And Zarias was like, "I knew it. I knew that the Shisharam were after me. They're gonna betray me. I knew that like once I survive this trial from divine fate, I'm destined to succeed." And Confer's like, "Are you sure the that's Kisharam and not the console? That seems pretty console esque to me." And whatchamacallit, and Zarias is like, "Don't be a fool. Kisharam, I mean console don't exist." And that's pretty much the end of that chapter.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I missed a whole big thing. That just did conference and the conference and Zarias the main point. I forgot about the um uh um I forgot about the Esme stuff. Even because it was just such a like a small thing, I wrote it down, but I just didn't like. I kind of went into the things that was like the most
I
exciting.
actually oh, so that was this chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, actually, hold
As,
on. Just before we start that, I did just want to note one thing, just in relation to the other stuff, since we'll move on to
mm,
the Esme thing. I noticed that when Confus asked Akka about Kellis,
mm,
obviously he got super defensive.
mm,
Um, he almost took a Kellis style approach to the interrogation, where he was responding with answering questions with questions, and things like that. So I thought that was interesting.
yeah. It's
So, but
very
yeah,
very interesting. Um,
just a minor thing. We can move on.
so yeah. So Esme was packed up her stuff and left Scales as he was not Scales Sarcellus
So
at
tell us.
yeah as he
Yeah.
see at the moment that I don't need to remember Scales' name I it comes up um the yeah but Sarcellus goes and is sleeping, so Esme leaves and goes to find Akka. It's a big parade going around just saying what like oh um we've the we're march on for the holy war starting tomorrow. We're gonna excited. It's gonna be great. Glory for all of us. Yay! Party, sex, drugs, all that nonsense. So she makes it somewhat to the camp. She sees Zynemus, Naor, Serwa, and Kellis there by the campfire. She didn't really want to join them because she calls them worldly men, and she kind of feels some type of way. She feels like she's lesser, and these people are more. It's like what can pretty much what a kind of horror can offer really offer in the situation, and so she kind of stays in the dark while everyone else is those four are in light. Eventually, Kellis and Zynemus goes and peas and solidified their friendship, and you can see that Zarias originally was a little skeptic. I think it was in your chapter. He's a little bit skeptic on Zarias's like not Zarias on
Cynemus.
Callus's.
Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
no, so yeah, Zynemus is a little. I keep saying Zarias. Their names. That's the two names that I get confused the most because their names are like super similar.
Mm,
Yeah, but Zynemus is more skeptical. He's really skeptical on Kellis because he's like Kellis is a little bit. I think what they said is he's a bit more than everyone else. Um, so it's I feel like this is he kind of won him over during this time. At least the time passed from there. So Esme was waiting for Akka, and then Zynemus eventually time passed. Zynemus and the rest of them were asleep. Also, kind of a little tangent that Kels did see Esme there, but she didn't say anything. The eyes just locked. Um, but everyone else is asleep eventually. And as she waits for Akka kind of comes back to camp, and she was holding out her arms for him, basically saying like, "Oh man, he's the one that needs me. He loves me. He will understand. He'll forgive me for my transgressions." And then when the time came,
Oh, brother,
he
this guy
walked right past
stinks.
her. Yeah, he just walks right past her. He doesn't even notice her because he was such in deep thought. Because this is actually kind of in a way, this was a good thing because this is for me forgetting because this was after, right after the the um, the console being kind of revealed to Akka there. So he was like, "All right, I'm so deep in thought." And like later in I think chapter 19, when we see Akka again, he does mention like he does not remember the walk home. He just remembers being in camp. Like the
Hmm.
first thing he remembered. So he didn't even notice that Esme was literally right in front of him, and that caused her to be like distraught. She's like, "Oh, he feels that uh, I'm worthless. I'm not needed," and that was kind of just like playing to all her own guilts and her own assumptions, which weren't really true. It's just he just had a monumental eye opening experience that, again, he's noted he rediscovered a console spy the first time in 3,000 years. So, oh, sorry, 300 years, and then 3,000 was the NASA
Yeah,
remote.
actually,
So,
come to think of it, we've seen the console, with in ruin. I guess this is the first time for sure that, yeah, I don't even know. I didn't even really register that, but this literally was the first time that he got any proof. Um,
yeah,
but
any
yeah,
proof. So he's like, I was like, he was such in deep thought. I was like, oh my gosh, and he's kind of scared at this point because he's like, I guess we'll get into that into the next chapter. Or actually, I'm gonna hold that assumption to the next chapter because there's another aspect I kind of want to talk about with like Akka's mental state with the whole second apocalypse. But and that's pretty much it. I guess Sarcellus did catch up to Esme at one point before she tried to meet up with Akka, and he was like, "All right, I'm done with you. You're not really worth my time anymore. You served your purpose." And she was kind of upset that he kind of let her go, but at the same time, she's like, "Isn't this what I wanted? I don't really love him." Um, which kind of is like conflicting feelings. I guess she wants the safety that Sarcellus brings to her, but I don't know if she or actually truly loved him, but she just loved what he offered, which was
hmm
comfort. Um,
yeah. I mean, I think Esme kind of like the incident with Akka, where it might not have. Had he actually recognized her, he might have acknowledged her, but
mm,
hopefully she's reaching right conclusions for the wrong reasons that, um, you know, he he doesn't treat her right. So,
yeah, he
um,
just, it's a very, very toxic relationship. Probably one of the most
right.
toxic relationships out there. Um, and that was pretty much it for chapter 18. Is there anything you want to discuss or anything that you could think of? Anything that really stood out for you for that chapter?
That was pretty much about it. I guess I sort of jumped in there when there was something I wanted to make note of. But yeah, that was build up for the final chapter. And I guess that takes us there, right?
Mm-hmm. Uh, and chapter 19, so it starts off with Surwa, and she was obviously getting raped by Naor again for like the umpteenth time. Um, and she kind of just sits there and like wonders why, like looking at Kells because she revised Kells as a god, and she's like, "Why are you allowing this to happen? Like, I'm supposed to be yours. Like, what's going on?"
Carrying your
Um,
child.
yeah, I'm carrying your child. Like what? Literally, what is going on? Why are you allowing this to happen? And eventually, Kel's again. He says this one line that was actually like really important. Basically, he says, "It's like." she's like, because originally she was thinking like, I'm not worth being here. Like, I should just leave. And Kellis is like, no, you might. Your what your pain is going through. You have worth. Just don't leave yet. Pretty much just saying, don't leave. I need you here for something. Um, and later, I think the next like part of this chapter, um, obviously, Serwa and Kels have sex, and obviously, or I should say, obviously, Naor is literally right there, sitting in the dark as they're doing the action. Um, and we see Naor's POV, and he's like, "What the heck? That's my prize. Like, how are you taking over something that I own?" And that to me made me think what Kellis was saying. Like, you have purpose. Your purpose is to control him. I'm using you to manipulate Naor in a certain way. Um, so I think that was her purpose, and she serves no other purpose other than that.
Okay.
At least in my eyes, I think so. I think.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I think that would check out for sure. I just wasn't sure if, I don't know. She's described as very beautiful. I wasn't sure if Kellis is taking up a big leadership position coming soon. I feel like, we've often seen in like some other fantasy series, like political leaders with um, a dashing queen or something along those lines can,
mhm,
add some allure. I wasn't sure if that relationship was going to evolve in that sort of way, and that might have been what the purpose was. But yeah, I can certainly see it in that direction as well.
mhm,
Um, by the way, something I wanted to mention about that scene. Um, Whenever like I'm reading a book and it's mentioned some character is reading a book, I
mhm.
really want to know what that book is. I think never as much as this time. Kellis is reading some ancient text and dropping his fake
Yeah,
tears on it and all that. So
yeah, yeah. So I think it's I don't know if it was like and with some of the analytics that we sometimes hear about in the and that Akakamin was talking about, like when he was reading his books. So maybe it was one of those type of books, like about like Sir Janus and his stories, basically some part of the Bible. Um, that's what I was thinking that he was probably was reading, but because it's supposed to be profound and very moving, so I'm guessing it has to do something with Sir Janus.
I got you.
Um,
Oh,
and
I totally forgot. Just with reference to the religion. Um, at the beginning of I guess it was sorry, in the Esme portion of the last chapter, we see Baker's rendition of the Our Father, which I thought was interesting.
yeah, mm-hmm,
But yeah, it is quite clear that you know the Holy War is supposed to represent the something like the Crusades at this point.
yeah,
But I think with your help, I was really able to make that distinction much earlier on.
yeah.
So
um, what was I? Okay, so after that, it got to. I think we swapped to after the Naor thing. We kind of swapped to Akka, and Akka's like, um, oh man, started drawing. He's having a mental breakdown, basically doing like the meme I was sending you from Always Sunny in Philadelphia with the having the guy pointing at the billboard with all these connected lines, looking nuts,
yeah.
trying to figure out conspiracy theory. Is the crack conspiracy tinfoil hat guy now? Trying to draw connections where plays into this, where the consul plays with the emperor and the Naor Empire and stuff like, or not Naor, Norserai Empire. Um, and he's having like it's just like his involvement of every aspect in the world is like is having shifting, and he's drawing connections that he didn't realize were there at first, and now he's like, okay, am I wrong or am I right in this? And after kind of Aka's kind of like interpretation, we get to like the final part. And the final part, it's kind of more like just like kind of like a wrap up. with state of things, not really following any POV. It's basically just like, okay, um, they're having like the big dinner with the king with the big leaders, and a lot of the factions are starting to really form, and it's based by who are sitting to who's in favor of what, or who's in favor in the main empire. With the House of Ikuri, or who's in favor with the house that's opposite the Biaxi Fant house. And basically at the last, like, I think paragraph, it I can even read it out. What was the last paragraph? Uh, okay, I'll read it out. Somewhere distant, the Holy War traveled the roads between ancient capitals, a great migration of sturdy men and glittering arms. Even now, some claimed they could hear its horns faint through laughing voices and stationary sea. The way the peal of trumpets might linger in ringing ears, others paused and listened, and though they hear nothing, they shivered and rationed their words with care. If glory's witness moved men to awe, glories asserted but not seen moved them to piety and judgment. Which I still don't. I sat there trying to understand that last like two sentences, like, if glory's witness moved men to awe, glories asserted but not seen moved them to piety. I still don't quite understand what he meant by that.
So I think the idea there is like and I could be wrong as well, but just referring to glory without witness essentially means that it's just in relation to it being a holy war. They're supposedly doing the acts of their god, and what they're up to um, is basically subject to you know that god's judge. Like I think it was just sort of highlighting the um, you know potentially absurd um, framing of what they're up to, like in the name of a god.
Okay.
So that I mean, I could be off. That was just kind of my interpretation, and could think about it some more. But yeah. So yeah, that was first of all, I think the first time we've gotten omniscient like that since
Yeah.
the Vulgar Holy War.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked some of the imagery, like where like the land had kind of died where the camps like used to be and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So um, yeah, which I think is a great sort of natural illustration of um, some of the dangerous unintended, but not something they're concerned with effects of. Which I think there are a lot of those, with relation to humanity and things like that, of something like this kind of holy war. And uh, yeah, so yeah, I thought it was a great little closing bit. I wasn't sure. Yeah, like I said, I was kind of I guess my first reaction to it was um, like I almost wanted a bit more by way of an answer to something at the end of this book. I wasn't expecting a lot of action
Mm-hmm.
in like this part, and I mean we did get some of that, but yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like I have to say this serves as a book. Well, I mean, I've gotten the sense, but it's definitely a book one, and we've said that before.
Yeah, very much
So
so.
yes,
In answer to what do you mind me asking?
yeah, totally. Anything related. I didn't expect any answers related to Kellis's father.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't. I maybe expected a bit more in terms of Mathanet and where he comes from, or the motivations of the console, which we sort of discussed earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think especially when Scales was like up, chained up, and Akka comes in, I thought we might be getting a little more insight in that scene in particular about something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what, but that's what I'm saying. Like so, um, yeah, I mean, and it was also like it's a big reveal for Akka, but not as big of a reveal for us.
Yeah.
And again, I think for me to get the most value out of it, I want to go reread part two. Not only because I think it was kind of my least favorite part, and the part where I was just like feeling probably the most lost, because I just kind of got my bearings with part one and that cast, and then there's this whole new cast and like a ton of world building in that one. But this time, I think I can read it back through, have a sense of who people are, what's going on, and try to see what I can tease out from what Skaos is up to. So,
Mhm. Yeah, like when you're going back, you're like, okay, now you're trying to figure out like what what is their motivation. Now you know like who they are and who what kind of faction they belong to. It's like what was your objective here?
mm,
And you see things through more scruple eyes. So.
makes sense. Yeah, that's valid. Um, yeah, I guess just in terms of my general review of the book, I mean, the thing is, you've essentially got the extended, developing the live review through all
Mm,
these past five episodes, right? But first of all, I gave this book 5 stars. So I'm pretty generous with like a 5 star, 5 out of 5. I'm pretty generous with that. It's generally just if I think a book is like it's not just I close the book and I'm like, this is like very good, very well done. But it's
mm,
like I think it's something special. It's something that like if it's like I sit down to read books like this, like have I really feel like I'm learning a lot. I'm thinking about things in different ways, and it's a book I will. I mean, I'm not going to put this book on everyone. That I think it's tailored for a very specific audience,
yeah, exactly.
but it's definitely something I would recommend to people to hope people read, um, etc. So yeah, I think this really did a lot of things that I've never really seen before. I think it between the very like fleshed out and cohesive world, I think it really and the choices as to like what characters to follow. We not only I think get a pretty well-rounded venue of like the perspectives to by which to see this world, but also to explore the particular ideas, both metaphysical and ethical, that uh, Baker was going for here. A lot of lines where I was, that really made me trip me up or make me think about things in a different way. Um, yeah, I think my favorite character I think has to be an Esser Morkellis, who I
Mm,
think is a terrible person to be clear, but um,
mm,
yeah, and this isn't like a spoiler, but I will just relate him actually to like the closest character um, like comparison that I would draw would be Captain Kennett from Live Ship Traders,
mm.
but I think
And then more
Kellis is
scarier in my
Kellis is definitely, I think, he leans into sort of more. He almost feels less human in a sense. I don't say
mm,
that in a bad way, but first of all, like he's just so compelling and otherworldly. Where like you want to know more about what he's up to, and what he's capable of, um, etc. And uh, yeah, it just takes the sociopathic nature to the extreme, and yeah, I like the fact that we got to follow Akka. I love me some sorcery. I'm hoping we get to see some more about that. The different schools of magic, I thought was, I think we got a really good canvas there. I just want to know more about everything in the world. Now, that being said, I will just, I guess, start getting into the things that I'd critique. One of those things we've talked a lot about, which is sort of what I wanted a little more out of the back bit. And like we it's come up a lot, but like I'm not feeling too strongly about it. Like I'm not feeling like too disappointed that we didn't get anything else. Like if anything, it just makes me want to read on more. So
mm,
that's fine. Um, yeah, I mean it's dense for sure. So um, like specifically, I guess part two is one I've made reference to, but even like part one, like it took me a little while to get my bearings. And I kind of knew what I was signing up for there, but
mm.
it's a lot. Especially since um like unlike and I haven't read Malaz and Book of the Fallen, but
Yeah.
in that series, from what I've kind of gathered, there are just like so many POVs, and it's like very like clear that like you're signing up for a project, and
Yeah.
like you kind of have to piece everything together.
Hmm.
Whereas here, we follow like a pretty specific set of POVs, which I like is definitely advantage. Like I think you get to know them pretty intimately well, and see a bunch of different perspectives that way. Um, so like, I don't know, it just felt like a lot of work off the bat, and like part of that's on me. But it just as a result, like I liked the second half a lot more than the first half. And the names were so hard, man.
Yeah, names are kind of hard to remember, and I then when you get to the battle scenes, I guess that's a slight spoiler, but there's
Well,
gonna be a
I don't. I'm not raising a pitchfork because you told me there's going to be a battle scene. I think I
yeah.
could have,
Figures that.
considering there's a holy war coming up.
Yeah,
I'm not very
but
surprised.
at least in the battle scene, like there's a lot of like actors, meaning there's a lot of people that he'll name drop, and you're like, who is that again? And they are doing different things. You'll see them die, and you're like, okay. Like I didn't even remember you existed, and I probably won't remember you existed after this, after your name drop. So it's just like um there's just so many different like people that are like affected in the story that it's like it's not just like one kingdom versus another. It's like a whole set of nations, a whole set of nations both that believe in a certain religion are attacking in another whole religion.
I mean, it's epic in scope and really well done. It is just a lot to follow. And like in
Yeah.
terms of these naming conventions, like I appreciate it in a sense because it feels like this like all the languages and all that is very well done, very well thought out. It's just it's a lot. So um, yeah, uh, that was that probably won't surprise anyone that that was potentially a bit difficult. I will say I have to. And I have another critique that I'm going to bring up, but
Yeah, four.
what I will say though, like speaking to the positives, is while for the most part, like most of the POVs, especially the ones we spend a lot of time with, really aren't very likable. There have been other books and like I've read and TV shows I've watched where that's really a problem because I just don't get emotionally invested. But this is written in such like an immersive and epic feeling way that, and like I'm just so interested in like all the ideas that could potentially come out of like every paragraph that like I am very invested, and like I have an emotional connection to the characters if not like rooting for them, you know what I mean? So yeah. Yeah, I guess my last big critique would probably, and this is like a nuanced discussion, and like I'm not saying this is blanket like badly done,
Mm-hmm.
um but just sort of the nature of the depiction of women in here. So
Yeah,
what
that
Baker,
was a big. Sorry to cut you off, but that was a big discussion point. Just wanted to bring that. So this is something that, uh, you, so this is you're not alone in this. So continue, but go ahead.
yeah. So basically, here's what I'll say. Um, I think Baker writes like very fleshed out women, and like in terms of their internal motivations and like and etc. Like clearly, the way that the characters in the world view women is not
Mm-hmm.
how Baker views women.
Yeah,
At the same time, he's just orchestrated this world. I think really to like play with his themes, where like the women like literally just cannot have agency, and the
at all.
two perspectives we follow are women that are just so traumatized and broken that like it's hard for them to like like have any agency. So it's, and um I'm not gonna necessarily criticize how brutal a lot of the scenes are to read, because again, like it's what Baker's trying to portray,
Mm-hmm.
like some of those horrific things. I just wish we had some women that were like more movers of the story.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see what Esme is up to.
Mm,
obviously, and there's also Zarias's mom,
yeah.
who seems like she could be a bit of a player. We'll see what happens with her, but um, yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not giving him a 10 out of 10 for that. So
Yeah, I don't blame you. It is one of the biggest critiques that Baker gets um, for this series. He loses a lot of women readers from this first book. A lot of women, or at least from what I've seen, have
yeah, and
trouble.
like,
Have
dude,
struggled.
I'm gonna be honest, man. Like, I don't really blame them. Like,
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I'm not
Mm,
saying that I can relate to like a lot of the male POVs, but
mm,
or like that I'm rooting for them, but like I think in general, like I could sort of can not like I feel like connect with them is the wrong word, but like just get invested in their journey and watch their motivations like really like come to fruition and things like
mm,
that. And you're just not getting that with Esmet and Surrey, specifically not Surrey, but I mean she has a
yeah.
very specific role to play. She's not as big of a POV, but yeah. So
Yeah, it's a problem that I luckily I'll be a little bit of spoiler. He does address in Second Apocalypse, so
okay, great.
it's just hard for I don't blame any women that dropped the series at least after this first book. Like you have all the right to drop it after this first book because um he didn't really take the criticism because I guess until later or taking that the criticism into his actual work until later because like I
Mhm.
guess he just wrote these back to back to back, so he didn't have time to like since he published them right back to back to back, he didn't have time to like implement those changes or like rethink of those through
Yeah, that makes sense.
until I guess later on. So
And I know
that's
there
why
are women that do enjoy these books.
yes,
Like
that's why I'm like
Amanda from
yeah,
Shelf
Amanda.
Unstable, I know is like a
Yeah.
big fan of these.
Yeah. So that was the person I was thinking of. Amanda and Joanna are like big fans of the
Oh, Joanna,
series.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and so they understand that those are not his perspectives on women. He said that's just the perspective that men have for women in this world, and it's very brutal, very patriarchal, and it's just not a good place to be a
Yeah.
woman in, and it's
Well,
and it's
totally.
tough.
But the thing is too, like, and I think I said this in the section that really focused on Esmond at part three,
Hmm.
where like it's not like he's like pulling these perspectives out of nowhere. Like I think a lot of the relationship between Akka and Esme obviously comes from her role in the world, but like those are like real human experiences that can happen in the modern day in various different contexts. So like I think there's value in what he's trying to portray for sure. It's just yeah, I mean, I think we've said what we need to say with regard to that. But um, yeah, regardless, I am definitely not under the impression that Baker um, thinks the way about women that most of his characters do.
Yeah.
So that's not deterring me from continuing on. Yeah, either way,
Yeah.
like I said, I gave this book a 5 star, which I am pretty generous with, but either way, like I really think this series is or this book is the start of something special and like unlike anything I've ever read,
Yeah.
but also in some respects, filling a piece of the whole that A Song of Ice and Fire has left in me, where like in terms of like a really fleshed out, immersive, um, like cohesive fantasy world
Hmm.
um, that like has sort of stand-ins for real world cultures, but is also doing its own thing, and just has layers I want to unpack. Like, and a lot in terms of the writing, like a lot that's kind of like not directly on the page, like a lot of lines just to think about and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like, I think it was a really good choice for us to do a sort of read along podcast for. So
Yeah, it's a dense. It can be a dense read, and I feel like the next few books it gets more dense as the series goes on. So it's and it kind of resets after the second apocalypse, and then we'll kind of again build back up again to being to the at least the unholy consult, which is the most quote unquote most recent um, book that he's released. Oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to what you see for that. That's gonna be a journey.
Yeah, I can't wait,
um,
man. I
uh,
know, just to get a little behind the scenes, we were chatting about, um, you know, once we finish Prince of Nothing, what are we gonna do next? I'm getting more and more inclined to just, dive into the second apocalypse, because, or rather what's the second, the
yeah,
aspect
second,
emperor.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I think because like the back half of this was just so awesome.
yeah.
I think maybe we could do Neuropath. Would be a fun little palate cleanser in between something like that. That's another Baker book I'm really interested in.
Okay, okay.
So we'll
I haven't read
see.
that one. Mm,
Yeah, yeah, neither have I. So that could be fun, but it's just like a one-off kind of like, I think it's like a sci-fi horror type of thing. So we can look into that. Um,
okay.
but yeah, man,
Okay.
this was awesome. I've had a blast with you, and yeah, we'll have Warrior Prophet coming out fairly soon, probably a couple weeks break in between. But
For you
yeah,
guys, for us, it's gonna be a little bit longer. Mhm.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And those are probably gonna be longer episodes. I was looking at just the table of contents last night when I finished this,
Mhm.
and it looks like there's only 3 parts, but basically the same length. So yeah, I'm guessing we'll probably do 3 episodes for that, still split it up by part. But um,
Mhm.
I and
Either
I
that, or we'll talk about it because if it's like super long to the point where it's like doesn't make sense uh to split. Oh, well, it depends how many chapters are in each part. We might have to go by chapter in
yeah.
that case.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
we'll see. I mean that might take a while. So, we so we'll figure it out. Maybe we'll get less in depth with sort of the summaries and just speak a bit more about like what stood out and things like that. I
hmm.
don't know. We'll work it out. But either way, I'm excited, and I'm so glad you've joined me on this journey thus far, and I'm looking forward to more, man, and looking forward to interacting with all of you. Watching or listening. Thanks for sticking with us.
If you
This
made it this far,
if you made it this far, this book was sort of our first go at this, and I was really stumbling through these first few parts. So, Jinx, you've been essential in keeping us on track. But either way, we're gonna try to get some feedback on how we did for this first sequence here, and probably adjust
yeah.
accordingly.
Yeah, so the
So
first few episodes, like we said, give us feedback, but we recorded all three of all five of these episodes before we even gonna upload the first one. So this is the time to give us feedback. Hopefully, we'll have uh, feedback before we start the second book.
yeah,
Hopefully, we'll
I
say.
definitely I think
Mhm.
that's the plan. So. Yeah, we'll play by ear. But yeah, either way, I think we can call it. That has
All
been The
right.
Darkness That Comes Before by R. Scott Baker.
Thanks for watching.